general election, ladies and gentlemen, is about to be conducted in Pakistan in 5 days' time. It's a general election that is coming as the country is in crisis. You name it on what is going wrong, it's going wrong. The former last Prime Minister elected with a sweeping mandate is in jail. He has not only faced conviction on corruption charges, his wife has been put under house arrest, where their house has been converted into a sub-jail. But in the last 24 hours, Imran Khan and Bushra Bibi have now been convicted for unlawful marriage, further adding a 7-year term. The other party leader whom you might recognize, the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan from the PTI, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, himself is in jail. Members of the PTI nevertheless intend to contest several areas of the election as independent candidates. Now, within this all, it's history repeating itself. Last time around, Nawaz Sharif was convicted of corruption, sent to exile to London. That same Nawaz Sharif is back, all his corruption cases seem to have vanished, and Imran Khan is in jail for corruption. While they're figuring all of this out, the status of the Pakistani economy has been of much discussion right here on NewsX and our online platforms. It's not looking good. Now, what happens next is a moment of conversation. Let's have it. Ambassador Suresh Goyal joining us on the broadcast. Major General Shashi Asthana is with us. Amjad Ayub Mirza joining us on the broadcast as well, as is Sumit Peer. General Asthana, now, do we take the elections in Pakistan with a pinch of salt as history repeating themselves? Because they've never really managed to conduct an election by your and my standard of an election in 80 years.
Certainly, in last 77 years, either army has been directly in power, and for the remaining part, it has been in power through proxy by a selected Prime Minister. Now, about 5 years back, Imran Khan was the selected Prime Minister and Nawaz Sharif was a fall guy. So all judicial, shall I say, all judicial difficulties were faced by Nawaz Sharif. And obviously he moved to exile, as you rightly mentioned. This year, the situation has turned. Imran Khan thought that he is smart enough. Imran Khan did question some of the decisions of the army. And the final nail in the coffin was that the PTI attacked on military establishments. I think that was the turning point. And after that, now he is the fall guy. And the then fall guy, that is Nawaz Sharif, all his problems seem to have been resolved without any problems. As far as the institutions, including judiciary, are concerned, they are actually not autonomous. They also look at the strongest entity which dictates the country and which invariably remains Pakistan Army. And therefore, the decisions also come almost in the same line as per the narrative of the Pakistan Army. So therefore, it is no strange and it is no surprise. And also the most surprising part and the interesting part is that various so-called proponents of democracy, whether it is United States or it is UK and everybody else, they don't see anything wrong there. For them, I think it's a normal democracy. And none of them minds dealing directly with Pakistan Army. And same is with China.
Okay, all right. So, Ambassador Goyal, not too long ago in the past, very much, in this millennium, when the exit of the last dictatorship was happening under Musharraf, we were told a deal has come, and the deal was we are going to get Benazir and Nawaz back. Then Benazir got killed, Nawaz was again convicted and sent to exile, Imran was brought in, now Imran himself is in jail, Nawaz is back in. I mean, what do we, is it a farce being played out? What is this going on? How do you assess this?
Rishabh, I think to comment on Pakistan politics or the Pakistan elections, from the standards of any other country would be really misplaced, in the sense that Pakistani political behavior has been determined by a completely different set of factors. And one of those factors have been perpetuation and survival, and not the survival, but perpetuation and consolidation, reinvigoration, progress, whatever you want to call it, of the army in Pakistan politics. The process had begun already when Ayub was the president. He converted himself from the martial law administrator to the president, and then came Bhutto, and then came so many others. It has happened. Therefore, first of all, we must accept that it is going to be the army, the master puppet here, which is going to be running the show. And we should not be surprised that when they change, Musharraf comes back from the airport, he gets to know what is cooking, and he is able to topple the civilian president, etc., etc. We should not be surprised about that at all. And that Musharraf continues to get the best of the possible treatment abroad, even after he has been toppled. That is number one. Number two, I think the most important thing really is what is in it for India. I think essentially, if you look at our own foreign policy, our relationship, and how comfortably we have been with the regimes in Pakistan, we have been comfortable with the regimes once we know who is actually pulling the string. Once we know who is pulling the string, and once we know who actually will be calling the shots, then we know what to talk and how to talk and what to do. The only thing that we can say really in the whole scenario, I'm not at all surprised about how many years is it now for Bushra Begum and Imran?
It's 14 in the last conviction, 7 in this one.
7 years again, 10 years earlier, 5 years earlier, this and that. I mean, they can keep on piling, but that doesn't really mean anything at all. I really wish in that case, if the days could come when the Pakistani army chief could declare that he is the president.
Okay, all right. So, Sumit, so for people who are thinking and keep hoping of miracles, okay, that something different will happen this time, something different will happen this time, something different will happen this time, there'll be a real chance at democracy and a real popular leader will emerge and he'll take on the army, the Fauji corporation, and do the revitalization that Pakistan's economy needs. You and I know, and we've had several conversations on the state of the Pakistani economy right now. In fact, as we speak, their IMF deadlines are expiring. Do we expect miracles?
Shabji, thanks for having me on your show. In fact, we know a word, something called democracy. In Pakistan, it becomes a militaryocracy. The terms are set by the military, so there's a new definition of democracy. There's nothing called an election, there's a selection. And the de facto Musharraf goes or Asim Munir comes, they are de facto the dictators of the Pakistan. Well, it is not important, do I declare myself as the president or I don't declare myself as the president? I am the running president. That is how Pakistan works. Now, they have to pay $75 billion by the end of April. There are 3 months down the line. Where is that money going to come from? That money is not going to come from anywhere. Everybody is playing his games. When Pakistan military is a washing machine, wherein you get a Nawaz Sharif, suddenly all his crimes are washed clean and he becomes a good guy. They were trying to push in Bilawal, but Zardari came up with a statement, Bilawal is not ready. So now they kept Imran Khan on tenterhooks. Just 20 days or 1 month before the election, they made his party invalid, they took his symbol, they made his election invalid. They got him out of the race so that Nawaz is the new bet which they are going to put the money on. Now, will Imran Khan survive or not depends on how much is their confidence on Nawaz. If they will need Imran Khan, they will keep him in jail at the right point of time. Again, his sins will wash. Again, he'll be alternate. That is how one politician is used to counterbalance the other politician. Asim Munir will change, somebody else will come. Again, the same game will be played. Loot and plunder is what all these generals are interested in. And let me remind you, Rishabh, Bajwa's wife, who was not a taxpayer because she had no income, in her one account, they were fined $600 million in just one account. And his daughter-in-law and sons are multi-billionaires. And he's having a nice, cozy life in Paris. And there was a video how Afghani was abusing him in Paris streets. That's a different issue. But he's moved to Europe. He's having a nice life. One of their army generals is the PSO of Arab Sheikh. One of them is living in a Canada. So all of them come, they get their money. They're not like our generals here, like General Astana here. They're not like that people. These people are the epitomes of virtue. These and others are epitomes of corruption, and they are the people who can sell their land, sovereignty, legacies for anything. It's the amount of money what
Okay.
you put on the table.
Okay.
And they are in business of jihad. Constant jihad. If you have the money, Rishabh ji, they can do jihad for you. Bolo kisko marna.
Okay,
They will.
all right. Okay, so but again, the question, Amjad Ayub Mirza, is that how is this election any different from the broken elections of the past 75 years?
It's not. It's not at all. The only issue is that in every election, the Pakistan military tries to get rid of the rogue prime ministers and bring in another prime minister that they consider would abide by their diktats. And that is why Benazir Bhutto was brought in the first place. And what did Benazir Bhutto do in 1988 when she won the elections after 11 years of martial law? The first thing she did was she gave the army a medal of democracy. That is an endorsement to the army that there will be no trials against the 11 year of martial law. And then when Benazir Bhutto tried to step out of the line, she was kicked out, Nawaz Sharif was brought in. And then Nawaz Sharif was forced to impose heavy taxes. And then there was a conflict between the military industrial complex and the private sector. And Nawaz Sharif was kicked out. Then this guy, Imran Khan, was brought in. But he was such a dumb person that he could not manage the nitty-gritty of politics. And when we talk about politics in Pakistan, it's about maintaining a balance between civil and military interests. And that culminated on the 9th of May last year when there was this massive uprising, which failed actually. And now he's paying the price. So they don't have any other person to bargain with. Therefore, the military has made a deal with Nawaz Sharif. And Nawaz Sharif is back, and most likely he's going to be the next Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Mr. Mirza, what is your assessment of how Pakistanis are looking at what's happening in the country? We know there's an economic crisis. We know that the IMF bailout or a Saudi bailout or a Chinese bailout or an Emirati bailout have become a normal course of events. Not recently, they've been like that forever. When they are looking at, let's say, for example, India, where we are also going to a general election, but we have a GDP that's growing, you're building one highway after the other, one bridge after the other, a lot of infrastructure activities are going on, and you can see a booming economy here. What do ordinary Pakistanis feel now?
Well, the ordinary Pakistanis feel helpless. They look at Modi with envy, that they wish they had a Modi in Pakistan to help them out of this economic quagmire. They are afraid of elections because of so many bomb blasts. From the 28th of January till the 2nd of February, the Baloch Saramchars have conducted 63 attacks on election commission offices, candidates, election offices, and so on and so forth. Just a few days ago, in Mach, Balochistan, the Balochistan Liberation Army captured the whole city and the railway station and maintained it for 2 days. And then they withdrew voluntarily. More than 378 Saramchars took part in it, plus 12 Fadain who laid down their lives during this attack. So same is the situation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa elections. I think the majority of the vote is going to be cast in Punjab and parts of Sindh, but Balochistan and KPK, the turnover will be really low.
Okay, all right. General Astana, there are two obvious questions. Let me try to address them before we run out of time. The one is, an election is happening in Pakistan. It's a farcical exercise. Other than voyeuristically watching it happen, watching the tamasha. Do we need to care? Should we care? Why should we care?
In fact, caring about their election, I don't think is going to help us because nothing materially is changing. But just to answer or add this point to the question which you asked very recently to Mr. Mirza, people are helpless but not strong enough. Organizations who think that they are strong enough to somehow call a shot and somehow give a shut up call to the army in some manner, they are trying to show their signs. Thus, resurgence of TTP and BLA and all these organizations give a trend that there is a fair amount of disgruntlement, and that disgruntlement is showing signs somewhere. Because there are earlier, it was not that some of the groups were targeting purely military. Now, a situation has come when they are targeting purely military and not civilians of Pakistan. So therefore, there is a change and there is some kind of resentment which is coming down the cadre.
Okay.
As far as we are concerned, Pakistan army is radicalized and that is the main source of proxy war against us. Unfortunately, with that equation not changing very much, I don't think the election...
So we have to handle it in the same terms we've been handling it because nothing's going to change. Yeah. So let me put that question to Ambassador Goel. Ambassador Goel, from first taking office in 1990 for 3 years, then returning to office in 97 for 2 years, then returning to office again in 2013 for near a full term of about 4.5 years. Now in 2024, the 4th term potentially of Nawaz Sharif as Prime Minister. How is he going to be different? Is this the same Nawaz Sharif who can try, but in the end do no good? For people watching the broadcast, it was Nawaz Sharif, of course, who was deposed by General Musharraf. Sir.
Rishabh, the point really here is whether anybody, whether it is Nawaz Sharif or Imran Khan or whoever comes as the Prime Minister, would they be able to deliver on their commitments? Because eventually a head of the government has to make certain commitments in terms of international relations and be able to really get those commitments fulfilled or implemented by the different parts of the government as they go along. I think what is going to happen really is when Nawaz Sharif comes, Nawaz Sharif knows that he has come basically because of the daya or the mercies of the army. And if the army allows him to function, that's the only way he can really survive in Pakistan. So I'm sure that first of all, he will not make any kind of a commitment to begin with, at least, just like which goes against the grain of the army.
Okay, Ambassador Goel, what in the past the Americans have played a major role. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay, in the effort that ended Musharraf's dictatorship and the return of Zardari as president, Nawaz Sharif as prime minister. These things happened in a large part due to American intervention. Now you have a much bigger Chinese footprint than it was there 2.5 decades ago. So how are the Americans and Chinese playing a role in this, if any?
Good question. I was coming to the America in any case now. See, Chinese, whether it is whatever is happening, Chinese know who calls the shots here. And therefore, anybody who comes here will be coming at the mercy of, therefore they have got army. Therefore, they have got their deals, they've got their connections with the army already. They need security for the CPEC in Balochistan. They want to basically make sure that their people at the Gwadar port are safe and sound. That the army will certainly provide because the army is getting money from the Chinese for Pakistan as well as for themselves. Therefore, that will happen. I think the more important question really is the Americans. The American Pentagon is also more comfortable with the army than with anybody else. Who they know is they are so hugely corrupt that dealing with them becomes well near impossible. They are more comfortable with the army, and therefore I think that if when Nawaz Sharif is there and with the blessings of the army, there might be a kind of a confluence or convergence of the USA, Pakistan, and India. Okay. But in that process, what role China plays? Because China-USA contest will continue for quite some time to come. My suspicion is that Pakistan might become the theater where the USA-China context could become more prominent if Biden remains. If Trump comes, Trump is going to be hands off Pakistan in any case.
Okay, all right, interesting point. Let me get Sumit in. So, Sumit, now, one would logically assume that given the state of the crisis of the Pakistani economy, the people will be very upset and they will be sick of it, and they will come out against the army, they'll come out against these old-timer politicians, and some rainbow revolution will take place in Pakistan. But that never happens, because the world has taught us that failed states are very happy somehow continuing as failed states. I mean, you look at North Korea just carrying on, lots of issues in Somalia as a failed state carrying on. Pakistan has a semblance of an architecture, but you and I know it's a failed state. So same old, nothing new. What is Nawaz Sharif going to do this time around?
You see, Rishabh, there are two things to it. First of all, getting Nawaz Sharif into the position was exactly to dismantle Imran Khan. Secondly, there was a meeting between Victoria Nuland, head of CIA, and O'Donnell in US, wherein Asim Munir and Nadeem Anjum breaking the protocol when they're together. Something was cooked there. When they are back, you have seen this all convictions happening and all, saza pe saza is happening. That's point number two. Point number three, around 7-8 days back, Asim Munir addressed a youth convention, so-called. The first point he makes is हमें हिंदुओं से आजादी मिली है. That's the first point. Second, he says हिंदुस्तान तो हमें recognize ही नहीं करता, तो बातचीत तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकती. That's the second point he made. And third point he made, you see his thought process. Somebody told him, why you are not letting governments to continue? He said, no, government, people select the parliament, not the government. If the government is not able to function, we'll change the composition of the parliament. Then the person asks, what if the parliament is not able to function? Because hum hai na fir. I mean, if that self-imposed guardian and custodian of Pakistan interests are the unelected people who are supposed to protect the borders of the Pakistan, but if you look at this history, if you look at the mathematics, Shaheen, Askari, and Fauji Tanzim, they do $36 billion of business each. Put together $200 billion of business and $18 billion of profit. Now, in a GDP of $280 billion, if army is controlling more than $100 billion, officially, do you think they are going to let it go? Whoever walks the talk, whoever walks the deal, they will use him. Only they will use Nawaz Sharif is they will try to use him to get some favors from India, to push him as a friend of India. By the time their economy stabilizes a bit, and of course, what I'm sure Rishabh ji, you must have seen the video of Qureshi, which she said a couple of years back, "मैं खुद जाऊंगा गजवा हिंद करने सोमनाथ." So that is the mentality of fighting. They will not change. It's only a matter of time.
But that's all you got left. So Mirza ji, then what happens to the people of Pakistan who are now having to face the reality that Bangladesh is a bigger GDP than them, that there is an economic chaos, that Pakistan is not going to be on this quantum computing and artificial intelligence and drone manufacturing and defense manufacturing tangent, that these things are going to simply escape the GDP of Pakistan. So what happens then?
Well, Pakistan has got no future under the current circumstances and the current ways in which they are conducting their economy and their politics and their foreign affairs. Pakistan has no chance, and neither do the people of Pakistan stand any chance in this game of musical chairs of elections. So I really don't have a concrete answer to your question, but I think it's going to get worse.
Okay, it gets worse, but the question is then if it gets worse. Ambassador Goyal, how much worse? What is worse? I mean, you'd think if your government collapses and somebody climbs over the walls of the presidential compound and takes over, that's pretty bad. You'd think there's an economic collapse, that's pretty bad. You'd think if Osama bin Laden is found down the road, is pretty bad. So what is worse then? Where does it go?
Rishabh, I hope that yours is not a rhetorical question really. Which Pakistani people are we talking about? And who are the Pakistani people who are left in Pakistan? Most of the Pakistani people who are worth anything or who are actually able to contribute to Pakistani economy
are abroad.
They're in the UK or in the USA or in Canada.
Yeah.
They're not anymore. It's the Pakistani common people who are suffering because the economy is going down and they don't even have sufficient food to consume. They will remain there. They will continue to suffer. And then one day, you will have more problems in Balochistan. You will have more problems in Pakistan. you will have hopefully problems in Giltistan, and we will finally be able to have POK back to India without having to use the military. And the problem is that when Pakistan destabilizes, which I think is more or less a certainty now, when Pakistan destabilizes because of all these factors, is that going to be in our favor or not? Now, that is a big question that we need to.
Okay, that's not, because it's a question not, I would say there is some tonality of if in it, okay, because like I said, failed states somehow miraculously just keep remaining failed. It's like there's a problem, but you just simply can't do anything about it. You're just trapped in the forces of history. So is it the balkanization of Pakistan? Is it inevitable? Can't say. High likelihood increasing with every decade that passes rather than decreasing with every decade that passes. Sumit wants to make an interjection. Sumit, take the thing and then I'll leave the last word to General Asthana.
You see, Rishabh, now after what happened in Balochistan, after their tango with Iran, which they're firing missiles on each other, I think the breakup of Pakistan is imminent. Nobody can hold Pakistan together. And failed states are good cannibalizing ground for thriving economies or ambitious economies to hunt whatever they can get from there. And if you look at geopolitically at Pakistan, if it's Iran, it's America, it's India, or it's China for that matter, everybody is looking, what can we get out of this? We need our POJK and GB. That is our interest. China has other interests. Iran wants complete Balochistan. And America wanted a base in Balochistan. That is why this attack happened. So everybody has an interest. It's when it is breaking up, you see, aap kitna loot paate ho. It's as simple as that. How much can you get from the pie?
Okay, but then there's also legitimately the people of Balochistan who never really wanted to be part of Pakistan. Then there are the Sindhis, okay, who have a different shade of opinion, and in a very real sense, the Pashtuns. So let me leave the last question with General Asthana. General Asthana, the trend that we have seen, political chaos, economic chaos, we've all seen it before in Pakistan, but the trend that we are recently seeing on Pakistan's western borders, with Afghanistan, with Iran, that is unusual. We haven't seen so much literally hot war going on these fronts. So there is a fundamental change in what is going on, because when we discuss Pakistan, we generally talk about LOC and IB. Now we're discussing Iran border and Afghan border and the creation of a Pashtunistan. How has that changed?
That has changed because the Pakistan army, when over a period, has manipulated Taliban or manipulated the softer governments in Afghanistan to freeze the border as Durand line, which is not comfortable to Taliban. So Taliban never agreed to Durand line, and therefore that there is a problem there, and there is a problem with Pashtuns also. And now the situation is with Taliban in power, the Pashtuns as well as the BLA, everyone has found a little more strength to be able to assert themselves. So that's one part. And as you mentioned, there is going to be more instability. But one thing I must say, that Pakistan has a very important strategic location. There are players like China and USA who doesn't let it sink as well. So they normally try to keep it afloat just below the sinking, just above the sinking point.
Yeah, you got it. You named it. And that's exactly what is predictably still happening. Just before they collapse, that little bit of oxygen is provided, whether it's $1 billion from the Saudis or the Emiratis, that 1 billion here, 1 billion there keeps coming in, just keeps them afloat. Nobody really cares, not the Chinese, as long as their workers are not being attacked and their projects are continuing. They don't really care about the state of the Pakistani economy. The Americans are not in Afghanistan anymore. Their investment into needing the Pakistani authorities is probably at a historic low. Okay, it's probably at a historic low, because if they needed them to balance out India, well, they are friends with India now. Okay, not really needing them to balance out China, but don't underestimate the ability of the Pakistani generals to do wheeling and dealing, because they don't have to worry about governing a country. Us in India, we have to worry about governing a country. They don't have to worry about it. They just have to worry about wheeling and dealing. Ladies and gentlemen, so elections are going to happen in Pakistan. Leave it to your judgment call whether something dramatically new is going to happen. Most likely, Nawaz Sharif is going to be back.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.